Teachers Lounge Talk Show. It is wonderful being back here on the mothership, also known as WHPR TV 33. Just feels so good. Before we get into our show, we have to thank Minister Malik Shabazz and the Get Up Stand Up Show for sharing their platform with the Teachers Lounge every Thursday from 8 to 9 on WHPR TV 33, seen on Comcast Channel 91 and a bunch of other places. But I see it on Comcast Channel 91. We also want to thank Brother David Muhammad and Available Geeks for sponsoring the Teachers Lounge Talk Show for the 4 years, everybody, that we have been on this mighty, mighty station, WHPR TV 33. For all of your website needs, for all of your computer needs, please contact availablegeeks.com. Hello, Facebook. Did not forget about you. Greetings. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're here on this beautiful Thursday, day after count day. How are you feeling, Mr. Weir?
I'm not counting anybody.
Mr. Weir is retired, but he still remains very, very active. And I'm so glad that you stayed with us this season, and I hope you stayed with us for the following seasons.
Right. The pay's good, so.
Amen. How you feeling, Mr. Gardner?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. I can't complain.
Good.
I can't complain. Life is good so far. I've been enjoying my new role as a resource teacher. Last year I was a self-contained special education teacher. This year I switched to the role of resource teacher. I don't know if you guys know, but there's been an initiative district-wide to close the self-contained elementary learning disability classroom and give those students resource. So that's the capacity I'm functioning in right now. So what I do is, for those who don't understand what resource teacher is, I would go into the classroom and assist your student or your child with their special education need. For example, if they're learning disabilities and they have problem with reading or math, then I will pull them out of their reading and math classroom, or I will push into their reading and math classroom and help them with those specific disabilities. So whereas I had a classroom full of 17 kids, now I kind of had to make my own schedule and go in and service those kids, where in the beginning for a self-contained student would have 25 hours of resource services per week. But now that I'm a resource teacher, a lot of the students that I had last year are only receiving 10 hours of special education services.
So which do you like better, being in the classroom full-time or resource?
They're both rewarding, but I'll say right now I like resource. I don't know, it just feels like it's different when you're in a classroom or a self-contained classroom that I was in, because I had kids of all different ages. I had a first grader all the way up to a seventh grader. Then
all
I
in the
had
same class.
oh yeah, all in the same class.
Imagine.
So now you go according to grade level?
Yeah, I'm able to make my own schedule this year. So, you know, I schedule my prep where it's supposed to be.
Amen.
And
That's the Lord.
and you know, and I get to break my kids down into appropriate age groups. So if I'm going to service my third graders for reading, then it's generally just all my third graders.
Right.
They don't have the same distractions of the other kids. The older kids, sometimes I felt may have been a bad influence on the younger kids,
Of
because
course.
and not
Of course.
maliciously, but you know how older kids have different conversations and they're going through different things that maybe a first grader or second grader didn't need to hear. Even something simple as, do you believe in Santa Claus or not? You know, just
right.
so I think it's better. It has its pros and cons, but it was, like I say, it's rewarding because I was going to mainstream those kids anyway. A lot of my kids that got pushed into this resource position, well, not necessarily pushed because their parents agreed to the amendment. They signed it. But these kids are kids that I was going to mainstream anyway this coming year.
Okay,
A lot
okay.
of them. So it's rewarding. That's why when you ask me how was I doing now, I can't complain.
I mean, wouldn't that be a positive for the parent, though, the fact that they signed paperwork to mainstream their child and not just keep them separated educationally? Wouldn't that be like a thumbs up? Don't we want parents to want their children to go into a more traditional classroom?
Oh, you would be surprised that the parents that hold their kids back for certain reasons. Oh yeah, parents will hold their kids back more so than a teacher would. I've experienced. I had a horror story. There was a student, and I believed in this student more than I believe the parent did. I had met with the parent one time, and they were saying, when my child comes home, they need to know how to do this homework because I don't have time to sit down and do the homework with them. Now, the child was already special needs. You know, I was teaching them how to borrow and carry, or regrouping is the new term. I was teaching them how to regroup, and the parent wanted me to give them baby math. See, my child doesn't know how to do this. He can't do this. And if she was yelling and screaming and had that same temperament and attitude with me, and I was her child, and I was at home trying to get help with my homework, I'd mess up too.
Sure.
You know, so I have seen cases where sometimes parents will hold the child back. And then for other reasons too that I hate to mention, but it happens for monetary purposes. You know, in special education, children receive a Social Security check based on their disabilities. And there's levels to the impairments that children may have. Like, I'm a learning disability teacher. Our parents could get a Social Security check of maybe $750
A month?
a month. A student that's mildly cognitively impaired would get a little bit more. And autism, ASD, that's the big check. That's about $1,200.
Wow.
So, you know, you have parents coming in, they're screaming, they're cussing me out like, my child's and I'm looking like, I'm not the psychologist. I can't test the child. You know, they don't even understand the roles that the special education provider provides, or the role I play in this whole IEP thing. But to get back on topic, I have seen parents hold their children back. So that brings me to a question that we were actually going to, this is a good segue.
Let me ask you a
going to talk
question
about
before you
this
go on.
tonight.
Do you think, I know you said there are some people who do it for monetary reasons, but do you think some parents are just maybe frustrated bringing that math home that they don't know how to
Yeah, I
do,
was
and
thinking
then they're saying that their child can't do it? Do you think it's maybe some frustration on their part that they can't help them? I mean, I don't care what level you are or what class you are. Everybody has those despicable parents. But one of the things that, I don't know, when you deal with poverty and the trauma of poverty, we have a tendency to denigrate our parents when they're doing the best that they know how with what they know. And I just would just hate for people to get the wrong idea that the majority of those parents do that just for the money. And then if you think about it, a child like that really needs some things, I don't know. Can you blame them too much for wanting that extra money? I mean, you see it. I mean,
I can't blame them. No, I can't blame them. But am I frustrated with them? I mean, I'm very disappointed. From where I stand, I'm disappointed because let's get back to the math. My kids take algebra 2. I got a 11th grader taking algebra 2. I got a 9th grader who's in advanced math, so he's taking geometry in algebra 2. I wish they would ask me about that homework.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell them that I don't know how to do it. I'm going to say, I studied my butt off when I was in school. You better get in there and keep your eye on that teacher. I'm not going to say, okay, it's time. I want my child tested for ASD because I can't do it either. I can't do that math sometimes either. But, I just think, unfortunately, there's a small percentage of parents that hold their child back. And monetary reasons is
the main reason.
I think so.
But something that you said, Brother Will, that I do want to focus on. You mentioned poverty.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, one thing I do know, young children, you know, when they're 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, they don't really know that they're poor until people tell them they're poor. Now, I know that all children want to be loved. They want to be respected. They want to spend time with their parent. And even if you're so-called in poverty, if you give that time to your child, because you're in poverty, I'm assuming you're not working, right? So you give that time to your child. Love on your child. In my opinion, I have seen poverty to the point where the parents are non-existent. Don't, no disrespect to the parents, but their jobs are maybe in and out. They have that kind of job. Maybe they do hair on the side or whatever. But when they should be spending time with their child, no disrespect to the parents, they out there in the streets. They out there, you know, getting theirs. They out there doing their thing and leaving their kids at home. So I get the whole poverty thing, but I don't think it really is impactful on children as we think that it is. I think the absentee parent is what is really, really distracting to the child. We do have a call, and we want to encourage you all to give us a call this evening. It's just us. We're just kicking it here at the Teachers Lounge. We're going to be focusing on various issues. Give us a call. 313-868-0342 or 313-868-0351. Our final call-in number is 313-868-4336. We're going to go to our calls. Caller, you're welcome to the Teachers Lounge. What's on your mind this evening?
Hello?
Yes. How are you, sir?
I am very well. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. What's up?
Yeah, we want to talk, me and my friend and I were just talking about the culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? About how, we just use hip-hop as an example, about how Lord Jamar one time said that the white people do business in the culture of hip-hop.
Okay.
And I started thinking about how we don't really take care of our culture. You know, because the same thing that's happening in hip-hop happened in disco, happened in jazz, and there's no really no cultural unity among all of us. I just use hip-hop as an example. But if you want to break down to a child what was black people's culture or what is black people's culture, how would you approach them?
Ooh,
Good
wow,
question.
that's deep,
Thank
brother.
you.
In fact, that's a
Thank you,
conversation
caller.
that I
That's
had
good.
with my mother not too long ago. Well, I'm just gonna come out and say how I feel about it. I don't care. I'm being unapologetically correct. I think our black people's culture is European culture. I mean, we don't have any. I hate to say we don't have any culture, and I hate to sit up there and say that our culture is the hip hop generation or the hip hop culture, because we're so much more than that. We're like European culture with some flavor put on top of it. I mean, we don't speak a different language. We're probably one of the only minorities in this country that don't speak a second language. We celebrate more European holidays than we do African American holidays as a whole, or you know. So when he's talking about culture,
Hold
and,
on, caller.
you know, that's something that I recently talked about. I wish we had more culture, and how African Americans are maybe the youngest genre of people on the planet Earth. Yeah, we're like the youngest thing out there, and we're just kind of like creating our culture now. Or we
But
had
see, you know, I disagree, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I believe I heard Muhammad Ali say, and I'm sure he didn't make it up, but when God puts something precious, it's buried deep, right? So we do have culture. We just gotta go into it. We just gotta get it. We gotta find it. Our culture is buried in Marcus Garvey. Our culture is buried in Honorable Malik Shabazz. Our culture is buried in
Right.
Mr. Louis
Right,
Farrakhan,
right,
who
right,
will be in
right, right.
town on October 14th at Aretha Franklin Amphitheater. Doors open at 11 o'clock. So we do have
It's
culture.
free?
It's free. And we have to find it, though. Just like that diamond that you got to dig for and dig for, you got to find it. It's not enough just to have the civil rights movement in some chapter in some history book. We have to find it. We got to go on the internet. I'll tell you this. There was a lot that I didn't know. I'm grown. My wonderful husband educated me a lot about Black Wall Street, about the Nation of Islam, about our culture, you know? And it's just, I didn't take the time to find it. I didn't take the time to try to find it, to dig into the earth to find out my culture. So, but it's there. We just got to look for it. We got to find it.
It's a
Yeah, I
young
want to
history.
weigh in on that after you take.
Please. Oh,
take
you
the
want to?
call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Caller, welcome to the Teachers Lounge. What's on your mind this evening?
I was just saying, I'm sorry.
Please.
I wanted to add a question on that. With the culture being like what it is and missing, like, I was going back over about, what does that say about the mental health in the black community?
You said, what do we think about mental health?
Yeah, because the culture's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, y'all both had a discussion about it. So what does that talk about the mental health in the black community?
Excellent question. Thank you, caller. Thank you so much.
I
Hold on, caller.
kind of agree with what you're saying, Leslie. Our culture, we do have a culture. It's just not taught.
Right.
We don't recognize it. And then sometimes
It's
we
not taught
walk
in
away from
schools.
it.
It's not taught in schools.
It's not taught in schools, exactly. Sometimes we're embarrassed by it. Sometimes we measure our culture on European culture. And, both of these cultures can coexist. I mean, we are in the United States. There is a so-called dominant culture here. But we do have our own culture, and I think it's, I just think it's suppressed. I think it's not adequately taught in schools. And going to what the brother just said about the mental health, this affects our mental health. Can you imagine children, and I've said this before, who are in impoverished neighborhoods? And when I'm talking about poverty, just to sidetrack a little bit, I'm not talking about poverty as far as money is concerned. The way the United States is set up, we have a poverty of resources. We have a poverty of opportunities. So what happens when those resources and opportunities are taken from us? Then other people put this, that we're we're a culture of ignorant people, that we do not value education. When you take opportunities away from people, what do you think you're going to get? I think we have a very rich culture in a lot of ways, and I think it makes us a stronger group of people if our children, especially if our children are taught it. I say this a lot. You have a 6 or 7 year old kid who's going to school. They go to school, they get there, they see these books, and they hear these things, especially in social studies. Equal opportunity for all. If you work hard, you get this, you get that. But the society isn't set up that way. So now you have this young child saying, well, my teacher told me there's opportunity for everybody. All I have to do is just work hard. And then they look at their parents, they look at their community. And they're too young to see that it's systemic, that it's institutional racism that causes the poverty. Poverty is not created by human beings, it's created by institutions. So now, our children, unless we work hard at it, they grow up with inferiority complexes. And then when you turn on the TV, the history books, and unfortunately, and I'm talking about black people, teachers, we kind of reinforce it in our classrooms.
See, all right, we're going to take this call, and I'm going to come back to that. You're not going to like my response to you, Brother Will, but yeah, you're not going to. All right, caller, welcome to the Teachers Lounge. What's on your mind this evening?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, the brother description of our situation was really appreciated and very, very true. I like to add that we are, as so-called black people, still enslaved, regardless if we have a house in Rosedale Park or homeless under the viaduct. We are under a system, you mentioned a European system and culture. And they're in charge because they own and operate the military. It's an old saying, whoever owns the military rules the history, tells the history. And that's, unfortunately, currently where we are. I guess I say currently, I guess we've been like this, under this containment for a few hundred years. But I think it's healthy to know where we are in this world and how it operates. And then it's just it's more healthy for our outlet and perspective and stuff like that. But I want to applaud those students who did not participate on count day, protesting the foul water conditions in the school. I wish that Minister Farrakhan would piggyback on that those kind of revolutionary actions. I applaud those students. That's the work of the city council. They could, with a pen, correct that stuff. The mayor with a pen could correct it. The governor could do it easily. But we got to realize those entities work for the same racist, European, institutional, foul body that impoverishes us and stresses us out. So again, I applaud those students.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, Color.
You get him, Leslie.
I'm
then
gonna
I'm gonna get him.
Okay. Now, you mentioned something about poverty of opportunity. Now, I'm going to tell this quick story. I'm from Philadelphia. Went to a public school when I was in the 6th grade. I went to a Catholic school beforehand. And I got teased and ridiculed because I sounded like a white girl. And that teasing and ridicule lasted me all throughout my public school education. The people that were teasing me were the ones that didn't do well in school. Okay? They cut class. They, wanted to fight me all the time. Made it difficult, bullied me. I was a quiet kid, believe it or not. So when I see them, the people that bothered me, teased me, ridiculed me, and they're talking about poverty of opportunity, well, guess what? You could have got your education like I got mine. You could have done the right thing like I did the right thing. Has nothing to do with, your parents and all. No, you chose, people choose to do the wrong thing. Then you wonder, how come things are so bad for me as an adult? Listen, I think it's very important that we focus on doing the right thing at all times, So when you talk about poverty of opportunity, I wonder how many people deliberately booted themselves out so that they can't have poverty. That they can't have that opportunity. So they have to embrace poverty, go to school. Listen, I watch the station a lot, and I get so tired of callers calling in talking about black people don't have nothing, black people have no unity. Yes, we do. We're united here. What are you talking about? We're down with Malik Shabazz. Minister Troy was here. We're all united. So I really believe, and I hope poverty is a choice. I said it. Poverty is a choice because I really believe you can educate your way out of it. You can't. My husband and I, we were talking on the way to the station. No excuses. My husband's mother couldn't read or write. Okay, but she opened up a business. She ran that business, couldn't sign her name, but she made sure to open up a business for her children.
Well, maybe it's not. Well,
Go ahead.
It's a choice if you stay in that state.
Okay.
You can be born into poverty. You can come from a family that doesn't have as much. Your mom be from a single family home and one income home, but it's your choice to do better and let me just put this question out there, callers. I want to know, a lot of times parents like to blame the teachers for whether or not their child is doing good in school, whether it's academically or socially or citizenship-wise. They want to blame the teacher. Oh, it's the school. My baby ain't never getting to no fights like this until he came to this school. My baby was an all A and B student until he came here. Now he getting D's and F's. Do you think, who's more responsible for a child's success in school? Is it the parents or is it the teachers?
We want to encourage you to be a part of the conversation here at the Teachers Lounge. Give us a call, 313-868-0342 or 313-868-0351. Our final call-in number is 313-868-4336. We're going to go back on our lines. Caller, welcome to the Teachers Lounge. How do we help you this evening?
Right, I had to do a quick follow-up. I think you
Please.
were channeling Kanye West with his statement about slavery was a choice.
I was
Poverty
thinking
is
that too.
not a choice. I think people make choices. Let me finish. People make choices that could lead to poverty, and a lot of those choices may include resisting and railing against the systems of racist supremacy, white racist supremacy, not participating in your community's downfall by participating and joining ranks with these policies and institutions that don't mean our neighborhoods and people no good. And they're like thrown into poverty.
Well, let me
It
ask you this
happens a
question.
lot.
Let me ask you this question, caller. Let me ask you this
yes.
question. Let's take it back to where you were going. How poverty makes people make certain decisions. So when a person
No, I
makes
just-
a when a person
Go ahead.
makes a decision based on poverty, whose fault is it? Is it that individual's fault? Is it their parents' fault? Or did the education system fail them? Because what Leslie is saying is everybody has a choice to make their
No.
lives better or worse. I mean, just because you can't say I'm in poverty, and that's not giving you the green light to take a penitentiary chance. It's still a penitentiary chance. It's still a bad decision that you're making. It's a choice that people make. If your parents
Yeah.
if your parents aren't allotting the life that you want to live, so you go out and sell drugs, or you won't get your next meal unless you go out and rob and steal. That's still a choice that you're making.
These conversations have to go much more deeper than somebody making simply a choice to do this and
I
do
agree.
that.
I agree.
It's deep, much more deeper. The root of poverty is capitalism, and that will take a long discussion right there all on its own. Followed by religious
Hold on, callers.
and all that crap. So people
Let-
are literally forced, knocked down, and you say they have a choice to live. What a choice to do? What do you the teachers right up there? Y'all do you think y'all lifestyle and what y'all doing is ideal or better than for somebody? Example you mentioned earlier, who may be selling drugs or may be living in a shelter. That person living in the shelter may have done or acted out in ways that were for the better good of everybody, but this system knocks them out, and then you have people who may have positions and cars or whatever people think is successful, because they just go along to get along. They turn their head. They don't step up for injustice. You know, my thing is, we could really get ahead quicker, not depending on the NAACP, the Nation of Islam, or anybody else, but if we attack injustice with every step that we take, every time we see it, we work to correct it. So I just want to say that these people who aren't doing good, they made bad choices, they may have made some good choices. They are not participating in this racist game that turns Africans into Europeans.
Thank you
Well, that's
so
deep.
much, caller.
That's deep. His mentality is deep. I'm not even gonna go there.
well,
Especially with that last statement.
We'll come back.
Yeah,
Give us a
yeah.
call back, caller, because our lines are
But
up.
that's
We
deep.
just
We
want to
could talk all day about that.
caller. Welcome to the Teachers Lounge. How can we help you this evening? What's on your mind?
Well, I think it starts from home first. It's got to start from home. I can only use my self-experience for that. When I was coming up, my mother and father worked. They sent me to Catholic school. Me and my brothers and sisters went to school. You learn in that house. You either work or go to school. See, the kids was brought up now. They don't have that parenting for a role model. My folks come from the South. They knew the struggle and what it takes for a kid to get his education. And back in those days, even if the teacher did help you, the teacher seen that if you when you took a GAPI test, they can tell what you was good in and what you wasn't so good in, and they helped you. But the problem is, it's not the teacher's job to raise the kid. The kid is supposed to get disciplined at home. That's why people's always hollering if the teachers put their hands on you and stuff like that. So we lost that, and it's a shame. That's my comment. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you,
I
caller.
wanna-
I
I wanna
agree. I
ask-
agree
I
with
wanna
that. That
ask-
caller was old school. I agree with him.
But what about these people?
Hold on, caller.
And I'm talking, and we'll just say it. It happens to black people, white people. But what about the white people who grew up with everything, and they end up becoming criminals?
Yeah, but they don't go to jail though. That's
Yeah,
the
but
thing.
well, then we take that back. Then you have a poor black person who does the same kind of criminal deed, and their opportunities for getting the right kind of lawyers, having the right kind of family backup, and the color of their skin. They will get out of jail before a black person who committed the same crime. One thing that brought it home, my son, my oldest son, he had a group of friends over to the house. They had graduated. They were talking about going to colleges. It was about 6 or 7 of them. They walking to the store. They're walking to the store. And when the police pulled them over,
study their history and their identity. You must